The stars had never looked so cold. Commander Una Park stood on the bridge of the Horizon's light and watched through the observation window as 17 warships surrounded her vessel. Their weapons were armed. Their shields were glowing. And their message was clear. Humanity would pay for what it had done. Except humanity had done nothing. 3 days ago, the sacred moon of Velith Prime had exploded. 3 billion Velith died in an instant. The explosion was so powerful that it created a new asteroid field where a beautiful silver moon once hung in the sky. The Velith were one of the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. They had been part of the Galactic Concord for over 2 million years. And now, they were screaming for blood. Human blood. Una pressed her hands against the cold glass and tried to keep her breathing steady. She was 38 years old. She had served in the Earth Defense Fleet for 15 years before becoming a diplomat. She had shaken hands with alien leaders. She had negotiated trade agreements. She had smiled and bowed and learned 17 different languages. All because she believed that humanity could find its place among the stars. Now, armed soldiers were marching through her ship, putting her crew in chains. "Commander," a voice said behind her. "They are taking everyone to the holding cells." She turned to face Lieutenant Taiho Shin. He was her tactical officer. A tall man with sharp eyes and a scar running down his left cheek from an old training accident. His hands were already bound in front of him with energy cuffs that glowed soft blue. "Did they say anything?" Una asked. "Only that we are criminals. That humanity committed genocide." Taiho's jaw tightened. They found human energy signatures at the site of the explosion. Human technology fragments. Even a human distress beacon. That is impossible. No human ship was anywhere near Velith Prime, I know. Taiho lowered his voice as 2 Velith guards walked past them. The Velith were tall and thin, with silver skin and eyes that held no pupils. They moved like ghosts and looked at the humans with hatred that burned like fire. "I found something, Commander. An anomaly in their evidence. The energy signatures do not match any known human ship. The frequency is wrong. Someone faked it." Una's heart jumped. "Can you prove it?" "I need time. And access to the data. But they will not give us either." Taiho looked toward the guards. "This is not a trial. This is an execution." Before Una could respond, the main door of the bridge opened with a loud hiss. A figure walked in that made even the Velith guards step aside with respect. He was old, even by Velith standards. His silver skin had turned almost white with age. His robes were decorated with symbols that represented 10,000 years of service to his people. He was High Elder Voroth, leader of the Velith Council, and one of the most powerful beings in the entire galaxy. He looked at Una like she was an insect. "Commander Park," he said. His voice was soft, but filled with poison. "Your species has been part of our Concord for only 60 years. In that short time, you have spread across our trade routes, taken our resources, and filled our stations with your noise and chaos. We tolerated you. We even welcomed you." He stepped closer, and Una could smell something like old metal on his breath. "And this is how you repay us. With murder, with genocide." "We did not do this," Una said. She kept her voice calm, even though her hands were shaking. "Humanity has no reason to attack the Velith. We have no weapon capable of destroying a moon." "Someone is lying to you." Voroth smiled. It was the coldest smile Una had ever seen. "The evidence is clear. The Galactic High Tribunal has already voted. Humanity is guilty. Your homeworld will be blockaded. No ship will enter or leave your system. Your colonies will be seized. Your people will be scattered among prison stations across the galaxy." "You cannot do this," Taiho said. "We have rights under Concord law." "You had rights," Voroth said. "You lost them when you killed my people." He turned to the guards. "Take them to the cells. Their fate will be decided at the formal sentencing." The guards grabbed Una and Taiho and dragged them toward the door. Una looked back at the observation window one last time. Earth was somewhere out there, beyond the stars, waiting for news that would never come. Her family, her friends, her entire species, all of them would suffer for a crime they did not commit. The holding cells were cold and dark. Yuna was put in a small room with metal walls and a single light that flickered every few seconds. She could hear her crew in nearby cells talking in frightened whispers. Someone was crying. Someone else was praying. She sat on the floor and closed her eyes. Her mind kept returning to what Tai-Ho had said. The energy signatures were wrong. Someone had faked the evidence. But who? And why? The answer came in a way she never expected. A soft beep filled her cell. At first, she thought she was imagining it. Then she saw it. A small light was blinking on her wrist communicator. The guards had taken her main equipment, but they had missed this old device she wore for emergencies. Someone was sending her a message. She tapped the screen and watched as strange symbols appeared. They were not in any language she knew, but slowly the symbols rearranged themselves into words she could read. The truth lies where light began. Seek the vault of first light. These coordinates will guide you. Trust no one. Humanity's survival depends on what you find there. Below the message were numbers. Coordinates to a location that did not appear on any map she had ever seen. Yuna stared at the message for a long time. It could be a trap. It could be someone trying to lure her to her death. But it could also be the only chance her species had. She heard footsteps approaching her cell. Guards were coming. She memorized the coordinates and deleted the message. Then she stood up and faced the door with her heart beating fast. She did not know who had sent that message. She did not know what the Vault of First Light was. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She would find the truth. She would clear humanity's name, or she would die trying. The door opened and the guards reached for her. Yuna went with them quietly, but in her mind, she was already planning her escape. Already imagining the journey ahead. Already preparing for war. The galaxy had declared humanity guilty. It was time to prove them wrong. The escape was ugly and desperate. Yuna moved through the dark corridors of the Concord prison ship with blood on her hands and fire in her chest. Behind her, alarms screamed. Red lights flashed against the metal walls. Guards shouted orders in languages she did not understand. She had killed 2 of them. She had not wanted to. But when she found the weakness in her cell door and broke free, they had given her no choice. Now their bodies lay cold on the floor, and Yuna carried their sins along with her own. Tai-Ho ran beside her, his breath heavy and fast. He had freed himself when the alarms started and found her in the chaos. Together, they moved through the ship like ghosts, avoiding patrols and following the emergency maps burned into their memory from years of training. Our shuttle bay is 2 levels down, Tai-Ho said, but it will be guarded. Then we fight through them. We need more people. We cannot do this alone. Yuna knew he was right. She stopped at a junction and listened. Footsteps were coming from the left. She pulled Tai-Ho to the right and pressed against the wall until the patrol passed. Then she made a decision. The science cells, she said. Hannah and Jiho are there.
Doctor!
Hannah Cho was the ship's xenorchaeologist. She had spent her life studying ancient civilizations and dead languages. If anyone could help them understand the mysterious message about the Vault of First Light, it was her. An engineer, Jiho Kong, could fix anything with enough time and scrap metal. They needed both of them. The science cells were on the lower deck. Yuna and Tai-Ho moved fast, taking down 2 more guards along the way. When they reached Hannah's cell, they found her sitting calmly on the floor, reading something on a small tablet she had hidden in her clothes. I wondered when you would come, Hannah said. She was a small woman with glasses and hair that was always messy. But her eyes were sharp, and her mind was sharper. I assume we are escaping? Yes, where is Jiho? Next cell. They freed Jiho in seconds. He was a quiet man who rarely spoke more than necessary. When he saw Yuna, he simply nodded and followed without asking questions. That was what she liked about him. The shuttle bay was chaos. Half the guards had left to search other parts of the ship, leaving only a skeleton crew behind. Yuna and her team moved through the shadows and reached a small transport shuttle that looked old and damaged. It was the only one not heavily guarded. Can you fly it? Yuna asked Jiho. He looked at the shuttle for a long moment. It will fly. Maybe. Maybe he's good enough. They climbed inside and sealed the door. Ji-ho went to work on the controls, while Tai-ho took the weapons station. Hannah strapped herself into a seat and immediately began working on her tablet, searching for any information about the coordinates Yuna had received. The shuttle engines roared to life. Guards started shooting at them from the bay floor. Energy blasts hit the hull, but Ji-ho pushed the throttle forward and they shot out into the darkness of space. Behind them, the prison ship grew smaller. Then the Concorde warships began to turn toward them. "We have company," Tai-ho said. 17 ships. All armed. Can we outrun them? Not in this shuttle. Yuna looked at the coordinates on her wrist device. The location was far, far away, in a region of space called the Hollow Expanse. It was a graveyard of dead stars, where hundreds of civilizations had vanished without explanation. No one went there. No one came back. "Set course for the Hollow Expanse," she said. Tai-ho turned to look at her. "Commander, that is suicide. The Expanse eats ships. Entire fleets have disappeared there. But it is also the only place the Concorde will not follow us." She met his eyes. "We have no other choice." Tai-ho held her gaze for a long moment. Then he nodded and entered the coordinates. The shuttle jumped to faster than light speed, and the stars became lines of white light. The journey took 4 days. 4 days of silence and fear and hope that grew weaker with each passing hour. Yuna barely slept. She spent her time talking with Hannah, learning everything she could about ancient civilizations and forgotten histories. Hannah told her about the Cedars. According to old legends, they were a race that existed before the galaxy had names. They had created life on thousands of worlds. They had built structures that lasted billions of years. And then they had vanished. "No one knows what happened to them," Hannah said. "Some believe they died in a great war. Others believe they left this universe entirely. But their creations remain. Hidden in places most species have forgotten." "The Vault of First Light," Yuna said. "Could it be real?" "The legends speak of it. A place where the Cedars stored the true history of the galaxy. Every secret, every lie, everything the powerful races do not want us to know." Hannah pushed her glasses up her nose. "If it exists, it could change everything." On the 5th day, they reached the Hollow Expanse. It was the most terrifying thing Yuna had ever seen. Dead stars hung in the void like black wounds. Broken ships floated in endless silence. The remains of ancient battles drifted past their windows. Ships from civilizations that no longer had names. "The sensors are going crazy," Ji-ho said. "There is something out there. Something massive." They flew deeper into the darkness. The coordinates led them to a planet that should not exist. It was wrapped in artificial shadow, hidden from every scanner in the galaxy. Only the ancient coordinates could find it. As they approached, the planet revealed itself. Mountains of crystal, oceans of silver, and at its center, a structure that made Yuna's breath catch in her throat. It was a tower that reached from the ground to the sky. It was older than the stars around it. And as they landed their shuttle at its base, Yuna felt something she could not explain. The tower was watching them. It had been waiting, and now, after 4 billion years of silence, the Vault of First Light was ready to speak. Yuna stepped out of the shuttle and stood before the massive doors. Strange symbols covered every surface, glowing with soft blue light. She did not understand them, but somehow she felt like she had seen them before. In dreams she could not remember. In memories that did not belong to her. "What now?" Tai-ho asked. Yuna placed her hand on the door. The symbols pulsed under her touch. The ground began to shake, and slowly, impossibly, the doors began to open. The doors opened with a sound like thunder rolling across mountains. Dust that had settled for billions of years rose into the air and sparkled like tiny stars. Yuna stepped forward into the darkness. The darkness answered with light. Blue flames ignited along the walls, one after another, stretching deeper into the structure than her eyes could follow. The flames did not burn. They simply existed, casting shadows that moved in ways shadows should not move. The air smelled like rain and something else, something old, something forgotten. "This is impossible," Hannah whispered. She walked past Yuna, her tablet forgotten in her hand, her eyes wide with wonder. "This architecture predates everything, everything. The oldest structures in the known galaxy are maybe 50 million years old. This place is billions of years old. Billions." "Stay close," Taiho said. His hand rested on the weapon at his hip, but Yuna knew no weapon could help them here. They were walking into the heart of a mystery that had outlived entire civilizations. If it wanted to kill them, it would. They walked for what felt like hours. The corridor twisted and turned, sometimes rising, sometimes falling. The walls showed images that changed as they passed. Stars being born, planets forming from dust, life growing in oceans that no longer existed. It was like watching the entire history of the universe play out in pictures made of light. Finally, they reached a chamber so large that Yuna could not see the ceiling. In the center of the chamber stood a platform made of crystal, and on that platform floated a sphere of pure white light. "You've come," a voice said. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. It was not loud, but it filled every corner of Yuna's mind. It was old, older than anything she had ever heard, and yet it was gentle. "Who are you?" Yuna asked. "I am called the Witness," the voice said. "I am the last creation of those you call the Seeders. I have watched the galaxy for 4 billion years. I have recorded every birth and every death, every truth and every lie. I have waited for the forgotten children to return." Yuna felt cold, despite the warmth of the chamber. Forgotten children? The sphere of light pulsed, and suddenly images filled the air around them. They saw creatures that looked almost human, but taller, more graceful. They walked among stars like gods. They shaped planets with their hands. They created life with their thoughts. The Seeders were not gods, the Witness said, but they were close. They believed that life was sacred, that every species deserved a chance to grow and learn and become something beautiful. So they planted seeds across the galaxy. They created thousands of species, each one unique, each one precious. The images changed. Now Yuna saw a planet she recognized. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds, Earth. "Your species was the first," the Witness said. "The Seeders created humanity before all others. You were their original children, their caretakers. You were designed to protect life, to guide younger species, to ensure that the galaxy would never fall into darkness." Made a sound that was half laugh and half sob. "That cannot be true. Humans are not that old. Our civilization is only a few thousand years old." "Your memory is only a few thousand years old," the Witness corrected. "But your blood is ancient." When war came to the galaxy, the Seeders made a terrible choice. They hid humanity on Earth. They erased your memories. They removed you from the stars so completely that even the oldest records forgot you existed. They hoped that when the war ended, you would return. But the war never ended, Yuna said. She understood now. She felt it in her bones, in her blood, in the strange familiarity she had felt when she touched the door. The war never ended, the Witness agreed. The other species, the ones created after humanity, rose to power. They rewrote history. They claimed to be the first, the oldest, the most important. Species like the Velith and the Orm built empires on lies. They erased the Seeders from memory. They made themselves into gods. The images shifted again. Now they showed the moon of Velith Prime. They watched as it hung peacefully in the sky. Then they watched as Velith ships surrounded it. Velith weapons powered up, and Velith hands pressed the buttons that destroyed 3 billion of their own people. Yuna felt sick. They killed their own moon. High Elder Vorith ordered the destruction himself. He knew that humanity carried the genetic marker that could open this vault. He knew that if humanity ever found their way here, the truth would destroy everything his kind had built. So he created a crime that would justify wiping out your entire species. Taiho slammed his fist against a crystal pillar. 3 billion innocent people. He killed 3 billion innocent people just to frame us. Power requires sacrifice, the witness said. At least that is what the elder races believe. They have killed before. They will kill again. Unless you stop them. Una stepped closer to the sphere. Her heart was beating so fast she could barely breathe. How? How can we stop them? We are 4 people with 1 broken shuttle. They have the entire galaxy believing we are monsters. You have something more powerful than fleets or weapons, the witness said. You have the truth. I have recorded everything that has happened since the beginning of time. I can broadcast this recording to every ship, every station, every world in the galaxy. No one will be able to deny what they see. Hannah stepped forward. If you release this information, it will cause chaos. Wars will break out. The Concord will collapse. Billions more could die. Yes, the witness said. That is the risk. But the alternative is worse. If humanity dies, the last hope of the Cedars dies with them. The elder races will continue their lives forever. The galaxy will never know what it could have been. Una looked at her crew. Taiho's face was hard, his decision already made. He wanted revenge. He wanted justice. Jiho was quiet as always. But his eyes showed something she had never seen before. Fear. Not for himself, for what they were about to do. And Hannah was thinking. Always thinking. There is another way, Hannah said slowly. We do not just broadcast the crimes. We broadcast everything. The lies, yes, but also the dream. The Cedars did not create life so that species could fight and kill each other. They created life because they believed in unity. They believed that all species could work together. The witness pulsed softly. You would offer truth and hope to Geth. Ah, yes. Let the galaxy see what was taken from them. But also show them what they could have. What they still could be. Hannah looked at Una. Give them a choice. Anger or understanding. War or peace. Una closed her eyes. The weight of the decision pressed down on her shoulders like mountains. Millions of lives hung in the balance. The future of her species. The future of the galaxy. She opened her eyes and faced the witness. Do it, she said. Show them everything. The truth. The dream. All of it. The sphere of light grew brighter and brighter until Una had to shield her eyes. A sound like singing filled the chamber, and across the galaxy, every screen, every communicator, every device capable of receiving a signal flickered to life. The witness began to speak, and the galaxy began to listen. On 1,000 different worlds, in 1,000,000 different homes, beings of every shape and size stopped what they were doing and listened. The signal cut through everything. Emergency broadcasts, entertainment channels, military communications. Nothing could block it. Nothing could stop it. The witness spoke in a voice that every species could understand. It spoke in words that resonated in the bones of every living creature, and it showed them images they would never forget. On Velith Prime. Families gathered around their screens and watched as their own leaders gave the order to destroy their sacred moon. They saw High Elder Voret's face, cold and calm as he pressed the button. They heard him laugh as 3 billion of their own people died, and they learned that he had blamed humanity for his crime. On the Orm homeworld, the collective disconnected from their shared consciousness in shock. For the first time in 10,000 years, individual Orm thought their own thoughts, and those thoughts were filled with horror. Their ancestors had not been the galaxy's first children. They had built their civilization on lies told so long ago that even they had forgotten the truth. On Earth, billions of humans looked up at the sky and felt something ancient stir in their blood. They were not newcomers. They were not accidents. They were the firstborn, hidden and forgotten. Finally remembering who they really were, in the vault of First Light, Una watched the broadcast continue. The witness showed everything. The wars of the ancient past, the deaths of the Cedars, the slow corruption of the elder races as they rewrote history to serve their power. And through it all, it showed the dream that had started everything: unity, compassion, a galaxy where every species stood equal. The elder races are trying to shut down the broadcast, Jiho said. He was working on a console that had appeared from the floor, monitoring signals from across the galaxy. They are sending jamming signals, destroying relay stations. Is it working? Yuna asked. No. The signal is using technology they do not understand. It is spreading faster than they can stop it. For the first time since Yuna had known him, Jiho smiled. They cannot silence the truth. Taiho was watching a different screen. His face was grim. The Concorde fleet is moving. They are coming here. How long do we have? Hours, maybe less. Yuna nodded. She had expected this. The elder races would not surrender their power without a fight. They would come to destroy the vault, to kill the witness, to bury the truth under fire and blood, but they were already too late. Across the galaxy, the response was beginning. Younger species who had always been treated as inferior rose up, not in violence, but in anger. They demanded answers from their leaders. They filled the streets of their cities with protests. They shut down trade routes and refused to obey orders. On the planet Korath, the insect-like Korthani withdrew their ships from Concorde service. Their queen announced that her people would no longer serve masters who had lied to them for millions of years. On the water world of Delmar, fish-like Delmar closed their ports to Velith vessels. Their elders said that any species capable of killing their own children could not be trusted with trade agreements. Even some Velith turned against their leaders. Young Velith, who had lost family on the destroyed moon, demanded justice. They called High Elder Voroth a murderer. They called for his arrest. This is what we hoped for, Hannah said. She was watching the reports come in, tears streaming down her face. They are not starting wars. They are demanding peace. Real peace, built on truth instead of lies. But the elder races were not finished. The Concorde fleet arrived faster than expected. 200 ships surrounded the hidden planet, their weapons charging. At their head was High Elder Vorath himself, commanding from his personal warship. His face appeared on every screen in the vault. His eyes burned with hatred. Humans, he said. You think you have one? You think this broadcast will save you? The galaxy has believed our stories for millions of years. They will believe us again. We will destroy this vault. We will destroy you. And then we will tell the universe that everything they saw was a human trick. A fabrication. Alayuna stepped forward and spoke into the communication system. Her voice went out to the fleet and to every ship still watching the broadcast. Hi, Elder Vorath, she said. The galaxy has seen your face. They have heard your orders. They have watched you murder 3 billion of your own people. No more lies will save you. No more tricks. The truth is out. You cannot put it back, then you will die knowing your species is finished. Our fleet will bomb Earth into dust. We will hunt down every human in the galaxy. Your kind will become nothing but a memory, and in 1,000 years no one will even remember your name. You are wrong, Eunice said, because we are not alone anymore. As she spoke, new ships appeared on the sensors. Korthon ships. Delmari ships. Ships from a dozen different species who had heard the truth and made their choice. They surrounded the Concorde fleet, outnumbering them 3-1. The younger races had come to protect humanity. New Vorath, a new voice said. It was the Korthani queen, her insect wings buzzing as she spoke. Your crimes have been seen by all. Your lies have been exposed. If you attack the humans, you attack all of us. For a long moment, no one spoke. The two fleets faced each other in silence. Weapons were armed. Shields were raised. The entire galaxy held its breath. Then, one by one, ships in the Concorde fleet began to power down their weapons. Velith captains who had lost family on the moon. Orm commanders who could no longer believe their own history. Officers from 100 different species who had finally seen the truth and could not fight for lies. Anymore, Vorath's warship stood alone. This is not over, he said. His voice was quiet now, filled with something that might have been fear. This will never be over. Yes, it will, Yuna said. Because now, the galaxy knows what you are. and they will never forget. Vorith's ship turned and fled. He ran into the darkness of space, a coward escaping the justice he had earned. But Yuna knew he would not run forever. The galaxy was watching now. There was nowhere left to hide. In the vault, the witness spoke one final time. "The truth has been told," it said. "What happens next is up to you." Yuna looked at her crew. Taiho, who had fought beside her through everything. Jiho, who had kept them alive with broken machines and quiet determination. Hannah, who had shown them a better way. They had saved humanity, but their work was not finished. The galaxy was broken. Trust had been shattered. Old alliances were dead, and new ones had not yet been built. But for the first time in millions of years, there was hope, and that hope had a name. Humanity. 6 months had passed since the truth changed everything. Yuna stood in the great hall of the Galactic Tribunal and looked out at 1,000 different faces. Representatives from every species in the known galaxy had gathered here. Some looked at her with hope, some with fear, some with hatred that had not faded despite everything they had seen. The old Concord was dead. Its leaders had been arrested or had fled into the darkness of space. High Elder Vorith was still running, hunted by ships from a dozen different worlds. His crimes had turned him into the most wanted criminal in galactic history, but the galaxy was not healed. Trust that had taken millions of years to build had been destroyed in a single broadcast. Old hatreds had awakened. New questions had emerged. Half the species in the galaxy still did not believe what they had seen. They called it human manipulation, fake images, clever tricks designed to overthrow the natural order. Yuna understood their fear. The truth was painful. It was easier to believe comfortable lies than accept that everything you knew was wrong. She stepped forward to the speaking platform. Her voice would reach not just this hall, but every world that chose to listen. 6 months ago, she began, my species was declared guilty of GE. No CID. We were sentenced to death. Our homeworld was to be blockaded. Our colonies were to be seized. Our people were to be scattered among prison stations across the stars. She paused and let the silence fill the hall. We did not commit that crime. The evidence was faked by leaders who feared what humanity might become. They killed 3 billion of their own people to justify destroying us. That is the truth. It has been shown to every corner of this galaxy. And yet, I stand here knowing that many of you still do not believe it. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some voices angry, some uncertain. I am not here to convince you, Yuna continued. I am not here to argue, or demand, or threaten. I am here to tell you what humanity believes. What we have always believed, even before we remembered who we were. She looked out at the faces before her. So many species. So many histories. So many stories that had been twisted by time and power. We believe that truth matters. We believe that every life has value. We believe that the strong should protect the weak, not dominate them. For 60 years, we came to you in peace. We asked only to learn, to grow. To walk beside you as equals, you answered with suspicion and fear. And when you needed someone to blame, you chose us. Her voice grew stronger. But we are still here. Not because we want revenge. Not because we want to rule. We are still here because we still believe in the dream that started everything. The Cedars created life because they believed in unity. They believed that every species, no matter how different, could work together to build something beautiful. They hid humanity away, hoping we would return when the galaxy was ready for that dream again. She spread her hands. Hey, is the galaxy ready? I do not know. There is so much anger, so much pain, so much history that cannot be undone. But I know this. If we give up now, if we let fear and hatred win, then everything the Cedars dreamed will die forever. And that is not a future I am willing to accept. The hall was silent. Even those who hated her were listening. I am not asking you to trust humanity. Trust must be earned, and we have not earned it yet. I am asking you to give us the chance to try. Let us prove who we are. Let us show you what we can become. And together, maybe we can build something that has never existed before. A galaxy where the truth is not hidden. Where power is not built on lies. Where every species has a voice and a place and a future. She stepped back from the platform. That is all I have to say. The choice is yours. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, a figure rose from the crowd. It was the Corthane Queen, her wings folded behind her back, her compound eyes reflecting the light of 1,000 stars. The Corthanes stand with humanity, she said. We choose hope. Another figure rose. A Delmari elder, his blue scales shimmering. The Delmar stand with humanity. We choose truth. One by one, representatives from across the galaxy stood. Some stayed seated. Some walked out of the hall in anger. But more than half of those present rose to their feet and joined their voices to the chorus. It was not victory. Not yet. But it was a beginning. After the ceremony, Yuna returned to the Vault of First Light. Her crew was waiting for her there. Taiho, Hannah, and Jiho had become more than colleagues in these 6 months. They had become family. The witness still floated in the central chamber, its light soft and patient. You spoke well, it said. I spoke what I believed, Yuna replied. Whether it will be enough, I do not know. It will take time, the witness agreed. Old wounds heal slowly. But the galaxy is different now. The lies have been exposed. The truth cannot be hidden again. What happens to you? Hannah asked. Now that your purpose is complete? The sphere of light pulsed gently. My purpose was to preserve the truth and wait for the forgotten children to return. That purpose is fulfilled. But before I rest, I have one final gift to give. The walls of the chamber began to glow. Images appeared showing structures scattered across the galaxy. Vaults like this one, hidden on dead worlds and forgotten moons. The Seeders left more than truth, the witness said. They left knowledge, technology, gifts that could rebuild the galaxy if used wisely. These locations are now yours. Use them to heal what has been broken. Use them to build what has never been built. Yuna stared at the images. So many possibilities. So much hope. Thank you, she whispered. Do not thank me, the witness said. Thank yourselves. You chose truth over comfort, unity over vengeance. That choice is what will save the galaxy. Not ancient technology, not lost knowledge. Just for humans who refuse to give up. The light began to fade. The witness was going to sleep at last. Its billion-year watch finally ended. Goodbye, children of the Cedars, it said. Make them proud. Yuna and her crew stood in silence as the light disappeared completely. The chamber grew dark. But outside, through the windows of the vault, the stars still burned. Later, they returned to the horizon's light. The ship had been repaired and upgraded with technology from the vault. It was stronger now, faster, ready. For whatever came next, Yuna stood on the observation. Deccan watched the stars wheel past. Earth was out there somewhere, waiting for news. Her family, her friends, her entire species, looking up at the same stars and wondering what the future would hold. Taiho joined her. His arms were crossed, his face thoughtful. They called us guilty, he said. Now they know the truth. But truth alone is not enough, is it? No, Yuna agreed. It is not. Then what is? She smiled. It was a tired smile, but real. What humanity has always done? Survive, adapt, prove them wrong. Again and again, until even the oldest stars remember our name. The ship jumped to hyperspace. Light stretched around them like rivers of fire. The galaxy opened before them, vast and uncertain and full of danger, but also full of hope. They had been forgotten. They had been accused. They had been sentenced to die, and yet here they were. Still standing. Still fighting? Still believing in a future that had not been written yet. The firstborn had returned, and they were just getting started.